started looking into getting a second dog when Faye, our first one, was about 4. We contacted a rescue organization in Seattle, and that's a story for a whole nother speech. About 2 months later, I got a call at work one night. It was my parents. Hey, we're going down to Marysville to meet a dog, completely out of the blue. And luckily for us, Penelope came home that evening. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. When I first heard that Penelope was 6, my first reaction was, isn't that kind of old? However, that feeling didn't last long because within a day, we were all smitten with her. Adopting an older dog instead of a puppy has taught me many things, including patience, keeping an open mind, and preparing for the future. The first thing I learned was that you have to be patient with both of your dogs when you bring the second one home. There will be an adjustment period for both of them, and both of their lives have obviously just changed dramatically, so it's going to take some time for things to fall into place and for them to find their new normal. Penelope, before we got her, lived with a bunch of other dogs, and from what we understand was picked on by the other dogs in her family. So she was very meek, she just had no self-confidence at all and didn't really know how to interact with Faye. Faye did not make this easy at all. She has been very protective of her personal space and viewed this other adult female dog as coming in and invading her space. And I'm not gonna lie, they got into a lot of fights when we first got them, all initiated by Faye. However, after a while, Penelope started fighting back and standing up for herself, and although they do still get into fights like this morning, they've mostly worked things out. The second thing I learned was that you have to keep an open mind when you bring this new dog into your life. There's going to be a lot of unexpected differences between the two dogs, even if they're the same breed, and there's going to be some unexpected things you have to teach your new dog. Faye she barks at everything that goes by the house. She eats anything on the ground in front of her, edible or not, and she's really athletic and loves going for walks. On the opposite end of the spectrum is Penelope, who is really picky. She is pretty quiet, and she hates going for walks. We actually had to leash train her when we first got her, our 6-year-old dog, because she never went for walks. She has no stamina and just doesn't like it. She only gets excited to go for walks because she gets to go somewhere with us, and it's exciting. She will be going along really good at the beginning, and all of a sudden, she'll plant herself. And I think all dog owners know the plant stance, and that there's nothing you can do to get them to move. The third lesson I learned was that there's going to be some unexpected challenges when you bring the new dog in, especially if it's an older dog. There's going to be some health issues you have to deal with. Penelope has had more than her fair share of health problems. But since I've gone through so many things now, I now know what to look for in the future, and I know what to be prepared for. When we first got her, her ears were infected, her spay incision was infected. In the 3.5 years since then, she's had 2 hernia surgeries, possibly due to being a breeder dog. She's had all but 8 of her teeth removed. She does have separation anxiety, and she's hypothyroid, which means her thyroid does not produce enough hormones. And although it's pretty easily manageable, and luckily for us, the meds are really cheap, she's gonna be on medication for the rest of her life. A more serious issue we've had to deal with is cancer. In the last 2 years, she's had 2 unrelated cancerous tumors removed, a mast cell tumor from her butt and a mammary gland tumor, which is not uncommon among dogs who are spayed later. And although luckily for us and the dog, the surgeries both went well and we caught them pretty much as early as we possibly could, that's now going to be a worry for us for the rest of her life because there's no way for us to tell if it metastasized or not. Now, adopting an older dog has taught me many, many things, more than I could possibly fit into this speech. I learned to be patient and not to rush things. I learned to keep an open mind when introducing your new dog into your family. and I learned to try to be as prepared as possible for future health problems and keep yourself educated. Now, if we knew up front how many health problems she had, especially when we first got her, there's a good chance we would have never adopted her. But if that were the case, we would have missed out on needing to know one of the sweetest, gentlest souls I've ever met in my life. So yes, adopting an older dog is not always easy, and it can take a lot of work sometimes, but the unconditional love and joy you receive in return, I think, makes it all worth it. Mr. Toastmaster.